Hello everyone, my name is Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, welcome to the channel. Dauntless 1.7.4 releases this Thursday, and with it comes the new Blaze Behemoth and the ruler of the Blazeworks hunting grounds, Phalanx. Phalanx is going to be one of the first Behemoth additions to the game in a very, very long time that isn't a legendary Behemoth or a variant of another Behemoth. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you everything about this new Behemoth and everything that is going to be coming with it, including new weapons, new armor, a new perk, and new quests for some more killer fashion choices. Consider dropping a like on the video for me, and if you enjoyed Dauntless and are not subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. I post Dauntless content on here all the time. And we're about to hit 18,000 billion subscribers. Thank you guys a ton for all of the love and support. It truly means a lot to me. Make sure you head over to the Twitch tomorrow. We will be out there as soon as the patch goes up, and we will be taking down some new Firebirds. Let's of course start this update video with Phalanx and the Blazeworks. The center platform area of the Blazeworks has opened up to become the Phalanx Forge. Be careful when you're running around on this island now, because there is now a very large hole that you can fall into. The Phalanx Forge, as you might expect, is going to be the area where Phalanx will appear. The base of the arena is a metal platform that's surrounded by lava, and yes, this lava will set you on fire. On one side of the arena is the actual forge part, which is what that very tall tower was for. It runs magma from all the way on top of the tower down into the forge. The other three sides of the arena are places you can exit using aether vents to go up some tubing. Alright, so the arena is great, but how do we summon the bird to the arena? Before we do, you might want to make sure you pick up the First Blood quest from Admiral Zai, as he asks you to slay a Phalanx. The First Blood quest is available after you completed the Forged in Fury quest, where you're tasked with finding the 5 lore locations on the island. To summon Phalanx, all we really have to do is slay one behemoth on the Blazeworks. This is because there was a new mechanic added to the Blazeworks hunting grounds called Energized. And no, not the cell Energized. Energized is a 5% movement speed buff that lasts for 5 minutes. You can get up to 6 stacks of Energized, and each new stack gained will refresh the duration back to 5 minutes. You gain a stack of Energized by slaying one of the standard spawning behemoths on the island, meaning it doesn't include the Phalanx event. More important than what the buff itself does though is what the buff allows you to do. Around the island there are now 6 aether valves. There's one next to the door with the 2 people standing there, one just off to the right of the Phalanx Forge, one behind the combat area in the back right of the island, one that's pretty straightforward from the island entrance, one that's next to the combat area on the left of the island entrance, and one that's up by the toxic lake fighting area. To summon Phalanx, you'll need to turn all 6 of these valves while you are energized. Thankfully, your energized status doesn't end when you turn a valve, meaning you'll only have to slay one behemoth in order to activate all 6 of them. Once you have turned all of the valves, the Phalanx Forge event will begin in the center arena. It consists of 2 rounds. The first round is a Moonreaver Shrike, and throughout the fight with it, this Shrike will summon a bunch of lesser Shrikes, all dying once you kill the main Moonreaver Shrike. Here's the funny thing, if you're lucky, the Moonreaver Shrike can actually end up killing itself before it even makes it to the arena. And the second round of the event will be Phalanx. And here it is, what you've been waiting for, Phalanx. As we've been aware for a while now, Phalanx is our new Firebird Behemoth. Phalanx is part bird, part metal, the horrifying creation of the Ostigard. It will appear at level 24 in this event, which should prove to be a bit of a task even when you're at level 20. Let's take a look at the attacks that Phalanx has. As a bird, there are several of its attacks that are similar to previous birds, including several that are the same style as Scrave. Scrave plants a frost orb with its one-handed digging animation, and Phalanx uses this but to summon 4 flame towers to shoot out of the ground. Similar to Scrave, Phalanx has a 360 swipe attack as well, however instead of coming after flying in the air, it comes after 2 stationary wing swipes. It also uses the 2-handed dig animation from Scrave, and it uses it to send a lava ball into the air. And the double forward swiping move closest resembles Scrave. When standing on one of of its sides, Phalanx will do a move typical to all birds, a double wing swipe to that side that you're standing on. Phalanx also has the typical bird relocation move, and it of course has the aerial slam attack. However, Phalanx will perform it very quickly without gaining much height first. It also has a chance to perform this move after a short forward roll. It also has the gliding backward move where the other birds will make a tornado, or in Shroud's case, a clone, but Phalanx will use this move to shoot metal feathers at you, and these feathers explode on contact. These are the main similarities to the bird behemoths, but now let's look at some of the unique things that Phalanx brings to the bird family. One of the most notable attacks that it has is a laser beam that it will shoot out of its eyes, which it can either do while standing or while flying in the air. The metal coating that Phalanx has gives it access to a Skarn and Quillshot hybrid move, where Phalanx will ball up like an enraged Skarn and shoot metal feathers at you. It has rolling attacks as if it were a Pangar, again the one where it does this short roll forward into a slam, and the other where it will roll up backwards and steer itself towards players and roll for a longer amount of time. Unlike the Pangar roll though, it would appear this attack isn't interruptible. This bird does have an interruptible attack though, but be careful because this charging interrupt is rocket powered. When it flies up into the air, it'll either do that laser beam attack or will come down right after with a slide. And it has a nice design feature where when it aether charges, it turns blue, just like how hot fires turn blue. When it aether charges, it will summon a swarm of metal around it, which will make it explode into a roar. And when it enrages, it'll slam the ground once, followed by the standard enrage bubble. Phalanx, I would say, is pretty well designed, though I will note that the head and tail can be somewhat difficult to hit when you're chasing the part breaks. And chasing the part breaks you will be, as the gear you craft from it will have a steep cost. After slaying a Phalanx for the quest from Admiral Zai, he'll then have you complete 2 quests from Moira and Wills, being to craft a Phalanx weapon and to craft all of the Phalanx armor. The serrated steel feather is the slay drop, which will need 14 to craft a weapon and 9 to craft a piece of armor. You'll probably have no issue with these, as you can get 9 from just killing 1. Something cool they did with Phalanx is that you only need to break a couple of specific parts depending on whether you want weapons or armor. The head break being the tempered iron beak, and the leg break being the fused steel down are used to craft the weapons. And the tail breaks or ignition glands and the wing breaks or racked pinions are what you will need for armor pieces. So it's the head and legs for weapons and the tail and wings for armor. However, in order to craft anything, it will likely take you at least 9 Phalanx encounters. It takes 18 leg breaks and 8 head breaks per weapon, and it takes 9 tail breaks and 9 wing breaks per armor piece. You can get bonus breaks of any of these parts when successfully slaying the behemoth, but the likelihood is you'll still need 9 birds or more. On a positive note though, the part health on Phalanx is relatively low to its core health. Credits for the numbers to Captain Maelstrom. Phalanx has 110,000 core HP, and the health of its parts add up to about 83,000. And of course, there are also the epic and rare drops, the Blaze-worked Shard and the Chrome Wing Blade. These actually shouldn't be an issue, as about halfway before I was able to craft anything, I had 40 rare drops and 12 epic drops. The epic and rare drops are only used for power surging, and it costs 5 rare drops and 2 epic drops each, so I already had enough to power surge 6 things again before I could even craft anything. But let's now take a look at the weapons and armor themselves. We have the Fists of the Firebird, or the Phalanx Strikers. We have the Eyes of the Firebird, or the Phalanx Repeaters. The Fate of the Firebird, the Phalanx Warpike. The Talons of the Firebird, the Phalanx Chainblades. The Rage of the Firebird, the Phalanx Hammer. The Call of the Firebird, the Phalanx Axe. And the Shriek of the Firebird, being the Phalanx Sword. I have to give it to the Phalanx weapons for having perhaps the worst base perk economy in the game. Etheric Evasion is like okay, but then having a utility slot and a mobility slot on them, especially right now in our technique slot meta, is unfortunate. There are talks about some cell changes that might make these slots make a bit more sense in the future, but thankfully, since Phalanx is a base behemoth, you are able to bond the weapons to the Torgadora weapons, so these slots don't matter as much. As for the Phalanx unique effect, it is somewhat interesting and rather complicated to explain. Hitting a behemoth part will mark the part and load a homing missile that will follow you around. Continuing to deal damage will load additional missiles with a maximum of 4 missiles, and performing a dodge will fire all of the missiles at the part that was first marked. One missile has a base damage of 150, and every missile you have will add 150 base damage to the other missiles by way of giving each one an extra explosion. So one missile has 150 base damage and 1 explosion. 2 missiles have 600 base damage and 4 explosions. 3 missiles have 1350 base damage and 9 explosions, and 4 missiles have 2400 base damage from 16 explosions. Just be aware that even though these are homing missiles, they can still miss. This ability comes with a 90-second cooldown. Essentially, the ability is a worse, more complicated Pangar unique effect. In one way, this can be tragically worse, as you might only deal 150 damage from the unique effect on a 90-second cooldown if you only have 1 missile loaded. But even if you get the max missiles for 2400 base damage, it is still worse than the Pangar unique effect, in that the Pangar unique effect will deal 4500 base damage when exploded early. After you factor in the damage bonuses from your build, you're likely going to deal more than 2 times damage with the Pangar unique effect by comparison. Plus, the Phalanx unique effect does not deal stagger or wound damage. That being said, there is a use that this could have, being in an effort to break one specific part on a behemoth. This 2400 base damage is applied to only one part, whereas the Pangar UE's 4500 base damage is applied to several parts. So there could be a very specific use for it in team trial runs, but a very specific use for it being the emphasis. You would have to break an additional part with it over the Hellion unique effect, and given the part focus of the repeaters and Warpike, I just don't see this being an issue for it. So it's an interesting effect, but I don't see it being used too much in its current state without some type of damage buff or some type of utility usage. Now let's look at the Phalanx armor. The Phalanx helmet, Phalanx's spearhead, comes with a new cell, Omnisurge, as the built-in perk with a mobility slot. The chest piece, Phalanx's Vanguard, comes with parasitic and a defense slot. The Phalanx's firearms gloves comes with Omnisurge and a utility slot. And the Phalanx's heatsinks boots comes with fleet-footed and a mobility slot. So the overall set comes with 6 Omnisurge, 3 fleet-footed, and 3 parasitic, with 2 mobility slots, a utility slot, and a defense slot. But what does Omnisurge do? Well, Omnisurge reduces the cooldown of your Omnicell activation ability. At +6, it reduces the cooldown by 20%, and at +3, it reduces the cooldown by 11%. And this is a reduction formula like the Lantern cooldowns. This means at +6, Iceborne goes from 60 seconds to 50 seconds, Discipline goes from 15 seconds to 12.5 seconds, Bastion goes from 30 seconds to 25 seconds, and Tempest goes from 4 seconds to 3.33 seconds. It has a secondary effect at ranks 4, 5, and 6, which will reduce the cooldown of your Lantern ability when you activate the Omnicell ability. At +6, this is a 40% reduction when you activate the Omnicell ability. It's pretty obvious that Iceborne gets the most benefit from this as it has the longest cooldown. But if you're rocking a Tempest and Lantern Mage build, then the Lantern cooldown reduction is more of the effect you'd be looking for. In terms of the meta, my hunch is that this won't really be used unless it's extremely important to get the extra discipline stacks a little bit faster. But as far as the Lantern cooldown reduction goes, you're already using the Aether Drive tonic in trials most of the time. However, the time it takes to get into the disciplined state from this cell would be cut down from 45 seconds to 36 seconds, so there might be a legitimate use case from this, perhaps on a more mobile behemoth like Drask. But you will, at the very least, have to use this perk and the armor set if you want to get some more fashion options. Once you've crafted all of the Phalanx armor and 1 Phalanx weapon and complete those quests, you'll get a quest from Admiral Zai to slay a Phalanx while wearing the Phalanx armor. Once done with this, you'll receive rumor quests for the Scorchwing Reborn and the Scorchwing Visionary Transmogs. These things give me some Daedric armor vibes from Skyrim, a fine addition to the fashion slaying game. And this is still an update video, so there's more to discuss. There are another set of rumors coming for the Longshot Warpike and the Execution Ascension Degree Axe. The Warpike rumor will be available when 1.7.4 goes up, and the Axe rumor will be available the week after that. The Sagacity die from Winterhorn Scrave is also new in 1.7.4, and I'm guessing this will be related to breaking the horns. Part health scaling for all behemoths on the Blazeworks has been reduced, and the Repeater's Marksman Chamber is being changed from a multiplicative damage bonus to an additive damage bonus, meaning Repeaters will be slightly less crazy. However, they should still be the best weapon even with this change. They also did a Nezaga refresh in this patch, giving it better collision and hitboxes, changed the interrupt window to include the shoulders, and added more detail to the Nezaga models. And there are some other notable miscellaneous changes coming in this patch, but this video has gone on for long enough. Thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, consider dropping that like for me, and consider subscribing to the channel if you are new. Tomorrow on the Twitch, be there, link in the description. Phalanx killing fun, very pog, maybe a hunt pass giveaway too, very pog as well. But I have been Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.